takers. Okay, so Yuri went with 10. Okay, and that's actually wrong, because this is different. I'll tell you, you'll see now why. So why, when we pass by value, do we have to return something? Well, see, this is the difference. We're actually not passing by value here. We're passing by reference, and you'll see what that means when we just look at it in memory. Okay, so this time we have the stack. Okay, and we also have, because we're using an object, all objects are stored on the heap. Okay, so when we create our integer array here, the same thing happens for when we are passing by value. Okay, now, except when we create our integer here, what happens is the actual value is not stored on the stack. What actually happens is our array is created on the heap. Okay, so there's a block there on the heap, and that block has an address. Okay, now I'm just going to put in 0x01 for that. Okay, it's a pseudo address. It's not real, but we'll just use it for this example. So basically, this is the address. Okay, so and when we set in our value to position A0 here, so we get 10 stored in our array block on the heap. And what happens then is this address is copied into our stack. So you can see here now, this address is stored, and it's actually pointing to an address on the heap that stores the value of our block of our array. Okay, so now what happens? The exact same thing happens here. Okay, as it did when we were passing by value. Okay, except this goes out of scope. When we jump down into our change method, the same thing happens. There's a new a created down here for our integer, and instead, in the last time when we had a primitive type, the stack, the value of the primitive type that was stored in the stack was copied. Okay, so the exact same thing happens here, except there's no value copied here. Why is there no value? Because there's no value stored here. What's stored in the stack for an object is its address on the heap. Okay, so basically this is copied down here, and now hopefully you will start to see why the answer is not 10. Okay, why is that? Because basically now we have this reference down here, but this reference is actually pointing back to our original reference on the heap. Okay, so basically, because it's the same address, so it's pointing at the same place in memory. Okay, so when we manipulate our array and update the value here at this point, when this line is executed, it's going to go up here and it's going to actually change the value stored in our heap, so that when we return back to our main method and we write out A0, what we get written to the console is not 10. The value of our original array was updated because the reference was copied in. So we had access to it within our change method, and as such, the output is actually 5. Okay? So that's the difference between passing by value and passing by reference. Okay? So when we pass an object in to our change method, what happens is that the actual address of it in the heap gets copied, and we have access to it. Okay? And when we return back to our main, then we know it was updated, and 5 is actually outputted. So there's probably a bit to take in there, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is any questions. Does anybody have any questions? And just remember as well, we are recording this, and we'll post it up on the Moodle website, so you can look back on this, maybe take some time to digest what's going on, and you can review it again. Okay, so no questions, Terry?
No.
Okay, good. So that's basically passing by reference and passing by value. Okay. So what we'll do now is, finally, we're going to finish up. We're going to rub out all of this, and we're just going to look at writing a simple program, and we're going to create a method that adds two integers together and returns the result. Simple as that. Okay. So let's just rub out our main. Rub out our stack, and now for this example, I'm not going to be going into the stack and the heap. Okay, we're just going to run with a straightforward example. Okay, so there we have it. Right, just close out our main there. Right. So what do we want to do? We want to create a program that takes two integers and adds them together. Now, we could do that all within main. We could simply define two integers, or three integers, say integer number 1, number 2, and an answer. And we could say answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2. And we could do all that within main. But what's the implications of that? Well, the implications of that are that once that's done, say if we wanted to do that again further on in our program, then we would have to rewrite the whole code. So it makes sense to create a method, and we can call the method sum. Okay? So let's just do that. So we'll define our two integers first. So int a, and I'm going to set a equal to 5. Int b, I'm going to set it equal to 6. And then I'm going to create an answer variable. And I'm going to set it equal to I'm going to call our sum method that we haven't written yet. And now, I want to pass in two parameters to this sum. I want to pass in a and b. How do I do that? I separate them by a comma. A, comma b. And then that's pretty much it. Okay? So I suppose this is a program. We want to see the output. So let's output the answer to the console. Console.writeLine. And we're going to write sum. Okay, so our answer even, not the sum, answer. Now, so that's our main method written, and now we want to actually write this method here. So let's get the method signature. So we're going to have static. Now, return type. Do we need a return type? What are we doing? We're dealing with integers. We're taking two integers into our method. We're doing some processing. Do we need to result returned? Yes, we do. We want to add the two integers together, and we want to send back an integer to our main method. So now we must specify a return type. Remember, you must always specify a return type. If there is no return type, we use void. In this case, we're going to use int, because we're going to be returning an integer. And now we'll put in our parameters. Okay, so I'm going to do int, and just to show you, I'm not going to use the same things as we did in the last example. I'm just going to show you that it doesn't matter what the names are here. So I'm going to change the names. I'm not going to say a and b. I'm going to say int num1 and num2. Okay, and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to close it. Right. So that's it. So we could just write return num1 plus num2. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to declare an integer variable in here, and I'm going to call it sum. And now I'm going to initialize it to 0. Okay, and then I'm going to simply put sum is equal to num1 plus num2. Okay. So that's essentially our method finished now. What are we missing? We've taken in two integers, and let's just go back and see exactly what is happening as we go into that. So we defined a is equal to 5, b is equal to 6, and then we say our answer is equal to sum, and we pass in the value of 5, and that gets copied. Where does it get copied? Does it go into num2? No, it doesn't. Okay, so the parameters match up. Okay, so whatever on the left-hand side, so the first parameter up here, the value from there gets copied into the first parameter of our method. The second parameter, the value stored in the second parameter, gets copied into the second parameter in our method. So num1 will get the value of a, which is 5. Num2 will get the value of b, which is 6. Okay? So now we have our sum there, and we say sum is equal to num1 plus num2. And now what must we do? Jump back up here. We're expecting an answer to be returned from our method, and we have specified, do you know what I'm missing there? I just noticed that now. Nobody flagged that? I didn't say the method name. You have to say the method name, of course, when you're defining your method signature. So static int sum num1 num2. Okay. So now we've specified a return type here so we need to return our sum, okay? And that's basically it. So return sum.
Sorry, Mike.
Yes.
Hazel just said, should there be a method name after static int?
Yes, very good, Hazel. You did spot it. Good stuff. I did update it just before I became aware that you asked that question, but well spotted, Hazel. Absolutely, there has to be a method name. Why does there have to be a method name? Well, obviously, it won't compile. Number one. Number two, if there's no method name, how will the computer determine what sum is? Okay, so yes, well spotted, Hazel. That was just a little typo on my part. Okay, but that's fixed.
Joe said, I thought it should be static int sum.
Yes.
That's what he has to, yeah.
Alright, perfect, Joe. Excellent stuff. Okay, nice to see everyone's on their toes there watching. Okay, so listen, that's pretty much it. So we have the result calculated within our method. Sum is equal to num1 plus num2. Simply going to add the two numbers together, store the result in sum, and we're returning sum back. So what happens when this is fired? We jump straight back to here, and what's returned? 5 plus 6 is returned, so 11 will be here essentially, and then 11 will be stored in our answer. Okay? And when that line is executed, the output from our program will be the sum of our two numbers, which is 11. Okay, so guys, I'm going to leave it there. That's a basic introduction to what methods are, why we use them, how we can pass information into our methods. We do processing on that information, and we return the result back to main. And that's pretty much what it is. And the two key points today: passing by value, passing by reference. When we pass by value, we've seen what happened when we didn't return a result. Basically, had no effect when we wrote the change method. Whereas when we pass by reference to an object, we've seen that the address was copied in, and we could actually manipulate our object that was stored in main as well. Okay, so I'll just finish up now by going to the floor one last time. Is there any questions there on what we've done here? Any questions on the parameters, or is everyone clear on how the values got copied in, and so on and so forth? Any questions at all, Terry? No? Okay. Well, listen, I really would like to thank you all for taking the time to log on today to view our live webcast. And for those students who didn't manage to log on, we have the webcast recorded, and we'll be putting it up very soon. Now, Terry will be putting up more options to vote on for our next webcast, which will be in 2 weeks. I look forward to seeing you all then. I'm going to sign off now and wish you the best of luck with methods. As I always say, you know, with programming, you really do need to get into Visual Studio and actually write the code yourself. And I know it seems a little bit daunting, but the more practice you do, the more proficient you'll become, the greater understanding you'll have of what's going on. So I really do hope that what we did here today gives you a good overview of methods, parameters, and how we can return values back to main. Okay, so thank you very much.